How was your trip, by the way, to Louisiana?
Pretty rough.
Rough trip, rough flight?
Saturday around 3 o'clock, had a group come up to my table. They had a special needs kid, male, and there was a guy dressed up as Deadpool, but he had a trench coat on and like a fedora. And I assumed that he was with them. So I spent some time with the kid, and we took some shots and stuff and signed what he needed to be signed. And then they walked away, and the Deadpool guy is standing right in front of me, and he's probably from the end of my table 6 feet away. So he's standing there with his hands to his side like Michael Myers, and he's just glaring at me.
He's totally covered in a mask.
Well, you can kind of see his eyes because the eyes of the Deadpool mask are like mesh.
Okay.
So I can kind of see his eyes, but I can see his eyes enough to know that they're not blinking. And so I'm looking at this dude, and it gets to be about 40 seconds, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, you okay? Dude, you okay?" Now they have a code in the in the con business. My handler passes it to the next person, and
It means fucked up fan, is what it means.
well, it means
There's an issue.
there's an issue.
Okay.
So I'm thinking because he's got a trench coat on. So my instinct is, should I just take this table and in one motion flip it up and just run him over with this fucking table? You know? So I'm just waiting for his hands to move. And now it's like fucking my spider senses are like, so I'm fucking alpha dogging it. And all of a sudden, the dude went to take a step away from me. So he just kind of, if he's looking at me like this, he just turns. And as he goes to turn, he just fucking with his hands to his side, never moved his hands. His hands were directly next to his thighs. He fucking face plants. And 1001, 1002, there's a fucking pool of blood.
Wow.
So now let's go back.
It was
And
Flair doing the flop.
no,
Valentine was it?
this isn't funny. This is not fucking funny because he goes into a grand mal seizure. This guy seizes. And like I said, let's go back about an hour and 40 minutes. And a friend of mine was at the show, and he was leaving. And the show was already, it was a slow show. And he says to me, he goes, "Hey man, you want to hit this vape?" So I'm like, ain't fucking nothing happened here. So I'm fucking blazed, and I just fucking just sat there in my chair for the better part of 30 minutes and watched this calamity of wave after wave of people that like didn't have like, I'm a fireman. Yeah, but you're just a volunteer. Like you don't have like nobody's got a blood pressure. And I'm like and I'm sitting there at my table going, "Put him on his back." And then they put him on his back, and the guy's like, he's just like a fucking fish out of water. He's having a fucking seizure. I'm like, maybe take his mask off?
They left the mask on all this
The
time.
mask is on this whole time. But the thing is when he went into that seizure, that was exactly what happened to T before he went into cardiac arrest. He had a seizure right dead in front of me like that. So all that fucking goes back through my brain. And I relived that whole fucking episode of my life 16 months ago. So, needless to say, fucking beyond buzzkill. But then they finally, some guy shows up. He's got a wheelchair with fucking gear in it. I'm like, who brings a wheelchair to get somebody that's fucking. I'm like, I'm looking at these people. I'm going, is there fucking not an ambulance?
I was just going to say,
in
there
fucking
have to
Louisiana.
be. Yeah, but what about at the venue with thousands of people? There's always emergency personnel.
Not at this motherfucker, I guess.
Wow.
And finally, they get the guy up and they sit him up. And so I get up out of my chair because now I've had a half hour to fucking sit here on the grassy knoll and like contemplate like everything that fucking happened. Plus I'm stoned, so I'm fucking very analytical because it's sativa. So I'm like, okay, they went through his shit. He had 2 phones, but he didn't have any weapons. So at this point, I come to the realization of he meant me no harm. He just wanted to come and get either a photograph or an autograph
And he had
from me, and I'm going to be I'm the last thing he saw before this fucking thing went down, because when he was glaring at me, he was like, you can, like, when you start to have a seizure like that, you just, like, you're just frozen. Like, you don't move until, then he went to, like, he just face planted. So when they picked the back of it up, and he had hit so hard that he basically like tore his nose over to the side, and just, I mean, he was missing teeth. He had a big gash in it, So I walked over. I said, "Dude," I said, "I'm so sorry." Because I didn't know what to do, because I didn't get up and administer aid, because all I'm thinking is the first thing in my mind was,
Glad I didn't hit him with the table.
No, this is being filmed, and if I touch him and he has any kind of injury, I'm going to get fucking sued. Like, I don't know until they put him up and I see that he's pretty fucked up. But, you never know in life, man.
Yeah, that's true.
And I said, and they pull him away. So for the next 30 minutes, I've got people basically in outfits cleaning blood in front of my table. Needless to say, I didn't have a real productive Saturday afternoon with blood smeared all over the floor in front. I mean,
where your lines.
In other words, come over here in the back of the Lincoln, and we'll take some photographs as soon as I get Kennedy's body out of the way.
The forward fall that I did when I passed out, when I got the cut over here, by some miracle, I did not go. My head was just the way it was positioned. It was turned, and I thought of that so many times. Like, if I had gone full force, my nose, teeth, the whole.
Well, the thing is, though, the one thing I Googled, and if you're going to fucking do the crappie, face first is the best way to go.
Because your head.
Because, yeah, you've got all that soft tissue, orbital sockets, your nose, all kind of shit that will break the fall. If it was in the back of his head, he'd have probably fucking hemorrhaged and died.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so I mean, so it's one of those things where, life is just like, I mean, it's so bam. So, yeah, that was my Saturday.
And that's usually the better day of the two, right?
By far. I had to be out of there at 3:30 on Sunday to catch a 5:55 to get home at midnight.
All right, well,